Yeah, there are so many situations where we need access to our M.2 SSDs, and now we have a super easy possibility here with this Xiaobi, which is a really good brand as far as I know. I've tested already many of the devices and they work really good. Of course, I have to admit that I got this from the seller for free, but it's still my honest opinion. I would never claim something which is not true. Here we have a really super fast 10 gigabits transfer USB stick. So it's supporting USB 3.2 Gen 2 if you have, but of course it's also downward compatible. You don't have to use this super fast speed transfer. Yeah, I think really great solution, this M.2 NVMe SSD Enclosure. So we can use it for copying data, installation, can use pretty much our old M.2 cards like a large USB stick. And you can even use for different devices, not only for computers, laptops, but also for mobile phones, because it comes with this super interesting USB-C to A cable, which is a 2-in-1. So we can just pull it apart, you can see. So we can use it USB-C to C or USB-C to A. And so here we have it, really nice, small. And to add the storage and use is very simple. You don't have to be a tech guy. Everybody can do that. We get also the instructions manual, which describes everything in detail. By the way, here you can see also the model type. And so of course we have to open the housing. We have this opening button here and also on this side. So you have to squeeze it from both of the sides and then pull it out and then take our M.2 storage and just push it here inside, like from the top in this angle. You can see we have two openings here. So if you have short M.2 SSDs, you can secure them down here in these openings. If you have the long version, it's not needed, just push it down, has a nice hold. And then we are using the thermal strip, just remove the protection on both of the sides. Something like that. Make sure that it's nice and flat so we can push it back into the housing. Doesn't matter if it's removing a little bit of the thermal strip, it's still okay. So we have it inside. So I'm connecting here USB-C. We can also leave the case open even like that. So we have ventilation from the top and even from underneath. So I connect it here to this PC. You can see the blue light here inside. You could also see it from outside. Here this blue LED light. Nice indicator to see if there's something going on. And we had a little bit of flashing, and just after that we see the content of the SSD. For example, very interesting to see also the information about the SSD. Here you can see fully compatible. So we can check everything here. All the details, serial number, type of storage, how many reads and writes we had, and the overall health condition. This SSD is a rather fast one, but it has been used quite a lot, 13,000 hours, so we can definitely see that. Of course, a speed test here on USB 3.2 Gen 1 doesn't make a lot of sense because the SSD and the Xiaobi 10 gigabits NVMe SSD Enclosure are much faster than USB 3.2 Gen 1. In theory, about double the speed. By the way, while I'm doing this performance test here, we can also check the temperature. You can see 58 degrees Celsius. So like that, we actually don't have to be worried. But of course, it's not recommended to use it like that for travel. Now we have reached the maximum temperature of 61 degrees Celsius, which I think is still okay, even though it shows the red mark. So it also won't slow down. Usually throttling starts only above 70 or even 80 degrees Celsius. So the speed test was still okay, but again, it's Gen 1. But of course, I've also made exactly same test with USB 3.2 Gen 2, which has actually exactly same speed as this SSD Enclosure and the maximum speed for read and write have been both around 1100 megabytes per second, which is about the real-life maximum what we can expect from 10 gigabits devices. I mean, in theory it would be 1250, but usually in real life we get only around 1000 megabytes per second, which is of course a little bit slower than the maximum speed of modern SSDs. So the 1100 which we got here from this Xiaobi SSD enclosure is even about 10% above what we usually can expect. So that's definitely a very positive sign. Of course, applying the thermal strip can be a little bit challenging, especially for non-experts. Or if you need to change out a lot your SSD, then of course it would be very difficult to do this all the time. So I wanted to also test this for you without the thermal paste here inside, switching here a little bit back and forth. You can see the update. And actually the cool thing here is almost at the end of the speed test, you can see the temperature is actually still cooler than with the case open. That's pretty amazing. So the case, even without applying the thermal strip, seems to have a nice cooling effect. Of course, it's not 100% same thing as with applying the thermal paste, but it's surprisingly good. Always during the whole test process stayed below 56 degrees Celsius, and I've even applied an alarm here on 70 degrees Celsius, which wouldn't be really hot, but for safety reason I did that, but it was never anywhere close to this 70 degrees mark. Yeah, pretty amazing actually. And so the test is finished, temperature even going down now, and I can even prove that I haven't been cheating. I can open the case here, you can see there's no thermal paste here, no thermal strip here on top. Of course, I wouldn't recommend to use this for gaming, but for standard light use, to move a couple of files around, definitely doesn't seem to be a problem. So I would say full recommendation from my side. And so if you're interested, I'll put down the link to the Xiaobi 10 gigabits M.2 NVMe SSD Enclosure down into the description of the video, so you can check it out and order one for you if you like. At the moment it's only a little bit more than $10. That's absolutely amazing how cheap you can get this device here. And so I hope I've been able to help you a little bit with this video. If you have any questions or comments or want to share your own experience, then just let us know down in the feedback area. I'm always happy to talk about these things. And if you like the video, give me a thumbs up, subscribe my channel. Thanks for watching. See you next time.